And this is the Oz report. And by popular demand, as we were just talking about on stream today, let's start with the Plex adjacent category. All right. So let's see here. We're jumping into the game client, and we can start with the Cerebral accelerators, right? So Cerebral accelerators, I've been saying for a long time that Master at Arms Cerebral accelerators, they are just too cheap when you're looking at the ISK per SP formula, right? These were, 8-9 months ago, these were yada yada, market flooded because of recruiting. Listen to any of the last 20 Oz reports to find out what happened there. The market is flooded. This just means that the formula for ISK per SP that I often talk about here is just off, right? So looking at Master at Arms Cerebral accelerators, even on the sell price, you're paying 2,200 ISK per SP on them. Compare that to, for example, Expert Cerebral accelerators is just ridiculous. But even for large skill injectors, this compares to what people pay on the large skill injector side if they have over 5 million SP. So now finally we're getting into territory again where the pricing actually makes sense. Like this is something that now we're talking. Looking in the past, when these were hitting 70 million, 80 million, these were just way too cheap. And now finally what has come to pass is that we're going up to the 100 million mark again, where this is sort of an equilibrium depending on the large skill injector prices, which are rather high right now. If we go look at those in here, you can see that they've been fairly volatile, but after the larger dip that we saw from the skill extractor sale, now we're in a range again where we're at 900 million, which is still way too high if you're considering the current profit that is to be had in skill farming. So Master at Arms Cerebral accelerators approaching a good price again. So somebody asked in chat earlier, is this clearly now a buy again? No, it's not. It's actually moving outside of buy territory because it was a buy for probably the last 5 or 6 months, or even 8-9 months. Now Master at Arms Cerebral accelerator is a hold and probably close to a sell, especially for those that bought large quantities in the 70 and 80 million range. Large skill injectors for me are a sell because there's no way that the current profit level of skill farming is going to hold. There's just going to be way too much of an influx of large skill injectors into the market. I don't see demand holding up, so I think the prices of large skill injectors are going to be falling in the long run, and that is also going also dependent on the skill extractor prices, which we're seeing here, which are finally now after after everyone in January buying into that huge dip in the NES store sale that they had with the 50% off, or the 2-for-1 rather, now we're into a territory again where this is rising significantly above 400 million, meaning we're moving in the direction that we have expected this to go over the last 3 or 4 months. The reason it wasn't going is because so many people had large stockpiles, and some people just couldn't wait. Some people just cashed in. Now we're slowly getting in there again, where we're going to, I think, move up to at least for the 450 range. I actually bought more last week when it dipped below 400. I started buying more of it, because I just think the opportunity is still there, and it's hard to see other opportunities that are that obvious at that volume, right? Because with skill extractors, if you can ride that wave up 10-15%, then you can liquidate it for sure, right? There's no question about being able to liquidate skill extractors because it's a huge market. It's the third largest item in EVE Online, right? It's very easy. So that's why I really like that investment. Yeah, so that's I said experts cerebral accelerators, just stay away from them. This is really a fake price because they just don't really exist anymore. So just stay away from them. That's a terrible price. I've said that before. And if we're looking at Plex, there it hit 4.9 again today, I think. So we're looking at the current pricing. It's 4.9. That is rather high, actually. It's there's no massive sale going on in the NES. Sure, there are people anticipating changes that are going on. General player numbers are not terrible for the summer, and so there is a demand there. But I wouldn't expect the price to hold at the current level. But then again, you never know how far away the next big NES store sale is that CCP has planned. If we do have another one at the end of the quarter, then this could immediately explode over 5 million again. But at 4.9, I wouldn't invest in Plex right now because I think it's much more likely that it will drop in price than rise in price. Now, let's look at some of the other items that we're seeing on the Oz report. So let's make this a little bit bigger for those of you on stream or on YouTube. So trending up, we're seeing some Dead Space modules here. That's always nice to see. It's your typical up and down depending on which ones are in high demand. But good to see that there's this much movement in the market. I mean, these are very, very expensive items, and them moving up 30, 40, 50%, that just means that there's opportunities to be had, and that's just fantastic. There isn't really anything interesting that I'm seeing here in terms of big movements. Most of these are just either they're running out of supply in the market, and that's why prices are spiking, or there's just not enough. I mean, typically it's just that play between supply and demand that are making these trend up. I don't see any ones here where I would see a special story here. Trending down, we're seeing a bunch of tier 2 modules trending down. Some of these are actually way underpriced. I think some of those artillery units I saw earlier. I think we'll look at the underpriced ones later, but some of them are significantly underpriced. A lot of that has to do with advanced moon materials dropping in price. So reaction materials were at a high after the latest expansion, and they're dropping back down. So we're seeing tier 2 modules becoming cheaper. Interesting to see Athenors just very, very cheap. I'm guessing that has a lot to do with them spiking earlier. But let me actually back that up with looking in the game client. So Athenor is here. Yeah. So Athenor is just very, very spiky. This is not it's not that the price has dropped 30% from its average. This just dropped 30% from last week where it was spiking. There's a lot of things going on with structures right now, because of the changes that CCP has introduced. There are no more Excel structures in HiSec, as you guys know, or at least they won't be able to be placed. So there's lots of structures being destroyed. There's lots of operations being moved from one structure to another. So this is just a very dynamic market as it is right now. On the high trade volume, we're still just seeing the agency boosters. That's the same as it has been in the last weeks. Let's look at short supply here. Let's actually look at that in the game client just because it's interesting. So we're seeing some compressed ore. Compressed ore is just not something that is traded a lot in JITA. So this is not something that where most of the ore and minerals are moved with the compressed ore. This is more a very, very spiky a spiky item, because sometimes people drop a lot of the compressed ore on the market, and sometimes it's just not there, and that's what you're seeing in this case, where there's just not there. Somebody just went in to buy it all. Sometimes there is a little bit of arbitrage to be made between the compressed ore and the decompression and refining it into minerals, and sometimes people just want compressed ore because they want to move it. So this is really nothing special there going on in that short supply category. Interestingly, we have something like the Le Chac. So a Le Chac typical trade day in JITA is 50, and you can see there's only like 17, 18 left in JITA. So Le Chacs in high demand. That also means that the price has spiked quite high to a 52-week high. This is just a fantastic ship, and it's a fantastic ship for structure bashing as well, I hear. So probably also a connection there. We then also have in the short supply bucket the tangled power conduits, and here's interesting because you're seeing just a few left there at 150, and then the price already jumps to 190. So this is one salvage good where you're going to see the price very shortly jump to 200, which is also going to be a 52-week high. So this is really this is going to be quite significant when you're talking about structure rigs, for example. I think is what these go into a lot. Yeah, you can see structure rigs right here. This can have quite a significant impact on structure rig prices, because they just use a metric ton of these. Even though there are still a few. Well, there's just overall not a lot left in the market, and the order tiers are quite stretched. So very soon we're going to see something very big here. This is a market where somebody could think about just buying out like the 150 here, and somebody just did actually. So I see most of the supply already gone. So somebody is buying this live on the Oz report, which is great. You can probably relist at 200 now and liquidate them all. But this is not big. This is not big money out there, because overall, we're talking about maybe a few $100 million here. But sorry, for some people that's a lot of money, of course. So let's also look at Caldari Navy large shield extenders. These are also basically gone from the market. So there's a bunch here left at 30 million. So if you look at the price, 30 million is high, but not crazy. Like we've seen those prices this year on them. But the daily average volume is 500 on Caldari Navy large shield extender. So it's a very, very popular faction module. And what's left here is only a good 100 in the market, and most of them are at 30 million, and then they already jumped to 50. So this could very easily wipe out as well. So if the market shortage here is due to one of the big null blocks, using them in one of their fits for their fleets, then this could very, very well sell out shortly as well. So this could also be a nice investment move to buy these out. The way that they get replaced is people would have to cash in LP in the LP store to get them. And that's going to have an LP effect then on the other hand. And that's why, the connection between LP and faction modules is just very interesting from a market perspective, and something that you can always try to find opportunities with and capitalize on, so that you can see sometimes it's the tags pushing the module prices, sometimes it's the module prices pushing the tag prices. But once you're, once you understand the back and forth between the two, you can also build your own spreadsheet that analyzes just that relationship between tags and the modules. So it's just, it's kind of like Dead Space modules, a very interesting piece of the in-game market, the faction modules. Now we can look at some of these other categories, and like the largest supply drop, I don't know if we have anything. It's more of the same. We have Republic Fleet medium shield extenders here, which is kind of like the same deal, except these are very cheap still. So you can see they're basically at 15 million. Okay, so they were also just bought out. So I'm not saying I have something to do with this, but it's very possible that somebody just looked at the Oz report sheet in the background and acted on it, because when we started the show, there were still a lot of these left below 15 million. And now we have a margin on Republic Fleet medium shield extenders between 9 and 15 million, which is an insane, that's a 50% profit margin immediately already. If you can score some of these on buy orders. So again, why is this relevant? Typically you'd say, it's very difficult to capitalize on this. Well, but this is an item that trades at about 500 a day, right? At least 300 to 400 a day. So there are only 150 left on the market, and those are priced at 15 million. So this is something where you can absolutely make a move. And if you already have a stockpile of these because you've been waiting for this day, then you have double incentive to be controlling this market. So it's a very interesting time for meta modules right now. And then let's just jump into the underpriced category to kind of see what's going on there. Underpriced drone transceivers. They're not drone parts. They're actually salvage materials. They go into drone rigs, drone-related rigs. They are, historically speaking, quite cheap right now. And the volume has spiked because somebody dropped in a ton of these into the market, right? So this might be the right time to invest into drone transceivers. Right now, what do we have? The price at 100,000. We have a significant volume at 100,000, and that is, if you compare that to the history, very, very low, right? These could easily hit 150 at any point in time, and the volume on these is significant as well in terms of trade volume. So drone transceivers might just be underpriced right now. Other than that, we have Federation Navy Hammerheads. Those are faction drones. They are very cheap right now as well, and they're very popular. About 1,000 of these traded a day, so about 1.5 billion daily trade volume. Sell price right now 1.3 to 1.4, and historically they've been closer to 1.75. So this is definitely related to LP pricing and conversion of LP, but there's just possibly a lot of LP around that are pushing these prices down. So investing in some Federation Navy hammerheads right now might also not be a bad idea. PithX type extra large shield boosters, they have been on this underpriced list for a long time. And this graph shows you why I've been talking about these probably 3 or 4 times in the last weeks, because you can see that they've already jumped 20% in price, and this is a massive trade volume, right? We're talking about multiple billion traded every single day on these, and they've been on a rally. And the reason that I've been recommending them multiple times is that they are just, compared to the 52-week value price, they are just so grossly underpriced at the moment. When we easily saw prices of 700 million in the past, we were sub 500 million for the longest time. And so the risk of buying these, if you have the capital to hold onto them for a while, is just, quite great. So or the risk is quite low and the opportunity is quite great. So I just absolutely love trading in these. And then I think that pretty much wraps it up. So I'd say, look at some faction modules. There seems to be some good opportunities there. Dead Space modules are always great. Now is the time to sell your Master at Arms Cerebral accelerators again. Skill extractors are probably just still a good value, but if you're holding large skill injectors, then sell them immediately. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.